Those who know must teach, African proverb. African Americans have been desensitized away from the fact that everything negative that we believe about ourselves comes exclusively from the white society. From the white society that has never earned the credibility to exclusively control what we believe about ourselves. They've been telling lies about us for over 400 years. From the white society that has never earned the blind trust of African Americans. From the white society whose power over us is made significantly greater when they keep us believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves. Because doing so demoralizes us, divides us, makes us self-loathing, lowers our collective self-esteem, and shifts our collective aggressions away from the white society and redirects it against ourselves. Keeping Black people believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves not only makes us more compliant with white dominance over our lives, it in fact in many cases makes millions of us even prefer it. Those Black people that insist that they've confirmed their negative assessment about our racial group based upon their own individual experiences are delusional, because it's not humanly possible to accurately assess the collective state of millions of people based upon anyone's individual experience. The reason why many Black people insist that they've confirmed their negative assessment about our racial group, although they've in fact not, is because once a false belief has been successfully embedded into the human mind, a person will then only notice those minute incidents that appears to confirm the false embedded belief, and they'll become psychologically blinded from noticing all of the greater amount of evidence refuting it. It's what's called the illusory truth effect. People see only what they've been programmed to see, and they become psychologically blinded from seeing the greater amount of evidence that refutes their programmed belief. This is why Black people that have been brainwashed to believe that our racial group never supports each other are psychologically blinded from seeing the overwhelming evidences to the contrary, such as the fact that during the 2008 election of President Obama, he received more Black votes than any previous president in U.S. history. Millions of Black people that had never before voted in any previous election registered and voted for Obama in 2008. In some states, Black people stood in voting lines for up to 5 hours. During Obama's inauguration, millions of Black people showed up in Washington, D.C. in record-breaking numbers, filling up expensive hotels at their own expenses. Black people also stood outside during Obama's inauguration in record-breaking cold temperatures to witness him being sworn in as the first African-American president. These facts and countless more totally destroys the myth that Black people are like crabs in a bucket, only pulling each other down, never supporting each other. However, that lie is what millions of Black people have been deliberately brainwashed to believe. Black people's negative perception about our racial group was actually deliberately ingrained into our collective minds by white propagandists. The white society controls our narratives, our statistics, and they even control our mainstream media images. They therefore literally owns Black people's interpretation of ourselves collectively. And they keep us believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves because this creates Black self-hatred and Black disunity, which attacks the core foundation of what bonds us as a people. This then allows us to then be ruled over forever. Your perception of reality is an elaborate Black racially demoralizing white deception, the result of an elaborate perception management system put in place for maintaining white social dominance over Black people. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering a targeted population's perception of reality to suit the objective of the ruling class. It's an essential part of modern information warfare. This is possible because our perceptions are not shaped based on facts nor reality. Our perceptions are shaped by the information that we receive. Because the white society controls the information that we receive, this allows them to control what we believe. They keep Black people believing the fraudulent worst about ourselves because it aids them in maintaining their white dominance over Black people. This perception management system negatively distorts and marginalizes virtually everything that Black people believes about ourselves. Through it, millions of Black people have been manipulated to perceive our racial group as being the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history. However, the hidden reality is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustice of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by early inventions by black people. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones, no emails, no GPS, no motorized vehicles, no helicopters, no traffic lights, no 3D movies, no working light bulbs, no elevators, therefore no skyscrapers, no home security civilian systems, no home game cartridges, no air conditioning, no central heating, no refrigerator, no refrigerated trucks, no washing machines, no dryers, no lawnmower, no blood banks. We wouldn't even have the accurate weather forecasting system that we now have. There'd be no fiber optics, no digital technology, etc., etc. The white society also teaches black students that our history began with slavery because our ancestors were in Africa were illiterate and uncivilized before our enslavement. However, the truth is the exact opposite. Africans are the first to build in stone and to smelt metal. Africans invented the wheel, paper, the calendar, the concept of 24 hours in a day. The world's oldest university, library, manuscript, encyclopedia, human prosthetic, mathematical tool, medical journal are all found in Africa. And the world's largest wall is not the Great Wall of China. The largest wall ever built is the Great Wall of Benin in Nigeria. It's 4 times larger than the Great Wall of China. And long before Caucasians invaded Africa, it was Africans that civilized Europe. Africans introduced science, writing, math, philosophy to Europe. All of Greece's first scholars admitted they were educated by Africans. Africans also introduced hygiene practices such as shaving, toothpaste, deodorant, and the daily bath to Europeans. The white society maintained its dominance over black people by keeping us believing the fraudulent worse and fraudulent lesser about ourselves. It's a control system that utilizes the immense power that shame has upon the human mind to mentally enslave black people. Those who don't critically think never notices their mental change. If you think this sounds like nonsense, then you're not critically thinking. When critically think, can you not see how cartoonishly unrealistic it actually is that virtually everything that we receive about ourselves from the white society are negative, demoralizing? That's cartoonishly unrealistic. It's a perception management system that is designed to keep us believing less of ourselves and more of whites. White social science describes this as instilling a value system into the collective minds of black people that makes us more compliant with white dominance over our lives. Black people, it's time for us to wake up to our reality and understand that there are tactics that the white society deploys for maintaining their dominance and to facilitate their long-term oppression of black people. And to free ourselves begins with critically thinking, researching facts. One love and peace.